All right, we are live. Hey, welcome everyone to Making Waves, episode 14 on this October 14th. What a coincidence. Anyway, guys, big show tonight. We want to thank, I'm going to thank him now. I'll thank him later too. But everyone, please welcome Jonny from Nothingmore.
Woo!
He's our special guest tonight. Thank you, Jonny,
Thanks,
for coming
Chad
aboard.
Daddy.
And obviously, you guys know Chad from Wilson. He's also the host of ShipRocked. Again, everyone, welcome to Making Waves number 14. This is going to be a great show tonight. And again, we can't thank Jonny enough for coming on and thanking the Nothingmore family. They've been great for us, and we've enjoyed having them on. And we know that all the ShipRockers are always stoked when you guys are mentioned. And so listen, guys, if this is your first time joining us on Making Waves, if you go to our Facebook Live streaming page, you can go into the comment section. If you have a question for Jonny, please go ahead and pose that, and I will try to get to it. Otherwise, I'm just going to let Jonny and Chad talk shop, and we're going to hear some great stories. And you guys ready?
Oh, I'm so ready.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Have at it,
I've
gentlemen.
been looking forward to this one for since we confirmed it. I got so excited. I haven't seen you so long. You look so beautiful, as per usual.
Likewise, dude. I don't remember the exact last time we hung out for a brief moment, but the last time I remember that we hung out for a while, you were having a good time, as you always do. And I love running into you on the road because I always know I'm gonna have a good time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I hope my good time has never spoiled you rotten too bad. I think we were at maybe the Aztec in Los Angeles, right? You guys had a successful show, and we were partying downstairs. I came in and said hi to everybody. I think it was Los Angeles.
When I hear the Aztec, I think of San Antonio. But
you know what? I'm thinking about a room that looks like the Aztec. But yeah, it was downtown Los Angeles, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you're talking about now. Yes.
Yeah. Was that the last Nothingmore tour then, before all of this craziness? Did you guys tour after that? You guys were headlining. It was the few.
Yeah. So we thought that was going to be our last tour. And then we started writing the next album, and we got an offer from Ghost. So we were like, I guess we'll tour a little bit longer. We were pretty much done, but we couldn't turn it down.
Did you guys actually do the tour, right? I mean, that was last year. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was like one of those ones that got pinned in this whole entire situation that we're in currently right now. You guys have been making the best of it, though, man. I'm paying attention to everything that happens in your community. First of all, your community is awesome. They have an application out now. If you're not familiar fans out there, you can go to their website. It looks something like this on the website. And before I'd dive into a bunch of fun stories we could talk about, I wanted to ask you, are you guys currently recording then right now?
Yeah, that was a big reason we did this whole app, because we wanted to, this time around when we made our album, we wanted to bring people into the process, kind of, show a little leg, if you will, just kind of tease it. And we felt like we would always just kind of disappear for this period of 6 months to a year and a half, because we're one of those bands that we go deep into the cave, not quite like Tool or a band like for that long, but long. And a lot of people, we felt like would either get disconnected or they wouldn't know what was going on, kind of in the dark. And so we thought it'd be a cool way to keep people involved and just sneak peek little parts of the album without context. So they get to hear kind of what it's going to sound like, but when they hear the album, it's still going to be very surprising because, as you know, so much of what you write, a lot of it gets cut and reorganized, and some songs turn into other songs. So it's going to be kind of cool for them to see where it started and where it ends up. And that's the big idea behind it.
Hey,
Yeah,
Jonny,
so you're essentially...
I'm sorry. No, Chad, I was just going
to capstone on that real quick.
If you want to capstone, then I'll come up with my question. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to step on it.
To be clear, what you guys are doing is giving sort of the inside look at the process without divulging too much information. But because you get so recluse, it's kind of like a behind the scenes look for the fans, but also for your the ability to stay focused on what you're doing, but during these times give some sort of interactive explanation of what you're doing, right? Okay.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing. And the other the other purpose was to kind of create our own community. Social media, there's so many different branches off our tree, from Twitter to Instagram, Facebook, and everywhere else where we're doing podcasts and live this and live that. This kind of brings all of that to one place. So our community, our VIP tickets, our meet and greets, our discounts on merch, all of those things are getting funneled into this. And so you get basically, just on the value side as well, as far as, percentage off merch or, exclusive giveaways, things like that. It's kind of a win-win for everyone. So we finally got it working. We built like 3 other versions before this, had to fire some people and do it again, but now it's up and it's running.
Well, it looks good. Good firings.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on just what Chad says. Is it's a new paradigm, this whole inclusive thing, and I think, me personally, as still a fan, I think it's fantastic to bring people into the process, because there always used to be like, you got to keep your band mystery. Tool used to be, you mentioned Tool used to be like about mystery, but not anymore. They're doing the front cover of magazines and everything else. It's like they realize the curtain's been pulled back, and there's more to benefit and more to gain to bring your audience in with you and let them in the room. It's a fascinating process too. Plus, I think helps people understand the creative process a little better, which sometimes can be very trying and challenging. So it's good for them to see that as well.
Absolutely. And I've always been very resistant to that, because I'm a very selective person when it comes to things that I put out. I've gotten a little more loosey-goosey over the years. But there's, our label and other people were always pushing us to post all this content. And I was always like, I didn't do anything interesting today. Like, why would I post something, but that was the nature of the algorithm and the nature of, where humanity seems to be going in this bite-sized, addictive kind of culture. So I was like, okay, maybe we can tap into that without totally selling out to the bullshit side of that we don't like. And in a sense, we're kind of doing that with this, but it's almost like, what if you could watch a documentary before it was put together? That's kind of what this is. You're seeing all the pieces as they're made.
I mean, I have to say, you've done a great job explaining it. I'm just going to kind of like, if you're watching, for our people tuning in on Facebook, you can go here. The website is Nothingmore. I think community.nothingmore.net or something, correct? If you search Nothingmore, this is the first thing that pops up.
Yeah, just go to nothingmore.net and it'll take you there. And we have links to the apps.
It's really cool. I've been diving into the process, because it's something, like you said, funneling all these things together into one cohesive piece is probably the best thing that you could do, because there is so many places to touch upon as a band, and staying constantly involved in the areas that we've kind of been forced to through new inventions like Snapchat and TikTok, right? If you're not doing what the status quo is expecting, then you're kind of get lost in the shuffle. There's no more Maynards anymore. The idea of being a recluse, it only exists in certain areas, and rock and roll is more or so in my findings, heavily behind that sort of tech and the communication skills that you guys have always been forward thinking in that way, and doing a great job such as this to bring them all together is really cool. The fact that you have your own application for it is even cooler.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, we're really excited about it. And I think it'll be a cool opportunity for other bands as well. I think the more we build off this and connect with other bands and, do kind of synergistic things. Back in the day, we would swap shows with bands. Back when we were young and hungry and just trying to get shows anywhere, we would be like, you can play in front of our fans in San Antonio if you let us play in front of your fans in New Orleans or wherever. And the same kind of thing, I think, with our community and how we connect these apps and things like that. So there's a lot of possibilities where this can go. And I'm just excited to people start seeing the album being made, and like you said, there's no more Maynards anymore, so we're finding a new path here.
Yeah, man. What you've always led that path that new path, if you will. And I wanted to kind of talk about bringing us back to where the band's origins came from, trading shows. I cut my teeth in the hall scene days where you would rent a VFW hall. The band from 2 hours away would come down and play, and then they would rent a VFW hall, and you do the same thing. You know, like it was the idea of community and how you built it with like paper flyers and in school and shit. And I'm assuming we spent a lot of time together on the road, multiple tours and things like that. So I've got to see the inner workings of your band in ways that I've got to see your butthole, frankly. You know, I got to see the spaces that people don't get to see. But with that butthole, there's a history to it. And I was hoping, I mean, as tired as you might be of talking about this, I never get tired hearing it. And I know the fans don't. So if you don't mind, can you tell us like how the band actually came to inception? I think you were the drummer at first, right? Or something?
Yeah, so I started on drums. We've known each other for quite a while now. So it started around 7th grade when I was going to a summer camp. So
I didn't know that.
Met
That's
Mark
awesome.
I met Mark in a dorm where we were staying, and he was like 2 years older than me. So, you know, you're at that age where 2 years is a big jump. And so I heard him blaring Metallica riffs down the hallway. And I was like, man, this guy he could shred. And so I walked down. And I was like, hey, you want to be in a band with me? And of course, he's around all his buddies. And he's like, no. And then calls me back like a week or two later after he heard me play drums. He's like, all right, let's jam. And, you know, from there kind of grew. I met Daniel a few years later. Or actually in a church band. And there's a lot of twists and turns to this story, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah. So from drummer to vocalist, was that out of necessity because whoever was singing at the time just sucked, and you're like, step aside, kid, I got this? Or how did that come to fruition?
No, we had quite a few singers throughout the years, many of which either were a really great friend but weren't the best singer, or they were an amazing singer and just totally flaky. That seemed to always be the rub, right?
Yeah.
Fucking singers, man. So we finally got to the singer before me, Trey, who's still a good friend of ours. Love the dude. But it was one of those things where stylistically, it never felt like it just locked in completely. We were just a little different stylistically. And it wasn't until one night in Mexico with a lot of tequila that I decided to muster up the courage to say that I wanted to sing in the band. Because before then, it was that was unthinkable for me for a long time. Had stage fright like no other. My biggest fear was talking in front of the class. So singing seemed like an absolute horror to me. And so I just didn't even know how I was going to do it. But I knew if I didn't do it, basically I would go to my grave wondering what if I had tried. And so I'm glad that I did, but it was an awkward like 2-year transition where I just sounded like a squealing pig in front of audiences all over Dive Bar America, you know?
Yeah,
how does one go from stage fright to basically being shirtless and shoeless performing live? That takes a lot of bravado. So yeah, that's quite that. I mean, was it just basically like, I'm going to do this and hear me roar?
Honestly, that's kind of how I always rolled, you know, since I was 5 years old. Was no shirt, no shoes. That was just kind of like my go-to. It was kind of a wild man feeling. I was just always kind of a hyper kid, and my grandma used to always call me Johnny Appleseed because I walk around with barefoot. And, so as I got more comfortable on stage, it just basically became one of those things where I was like, hey, I have a job where I can dress however I want to, which, by the way, most of my life I was in a private school and had to wear a uniform, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And I always told myself as a kid, when I grow up and I can wear whatever I want, like I'm going to wear whatever I want, no matter what anybody says. So I'm in a job where I can do that. So I was like, well, that's where I feel comfortable.
You know, Johnny, now it's for you, it's a stage costume, but it's also become somewhat of an iconic look now. I mean, if anyone knows who you are, maybe not heard you, they see you live, they'll see you and go, I know who that band is. I'm familiar with who that band is. And so in a lot of ways, it is part of your stage presentation.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever thought about that.
Hey, can I've got a question from a ShipRocker. Could we get to? I kind of want to. The last thing you guys just kind of put out was a acoustic version of Gone here recently, right?
Yeah.
So Karina wants to know if there's ever something you guys discussed doing a full acoustic record.
Actually, yeah, we've talked about that quite a few times. That's something I've been wanting to do, but we wanted to get one more full length. Since most people that have heard us, they heard us come out on the self-titled album, which was our first label release. So this would be our third album for a lot of people. And we really felt like we wanted to get, I don't know why, it just felt in our gut that we want to get that third album that just rocks and is heavy before we do an acoustic album, and something that takes a little bit of a softer turn. But that is something I want to do, because like Gone acoustic that we just re-released.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful song. Just, it sounds amazing like that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we have quite a few acoustic renditions kind of scattered around, so we'd probably bring those together, like Fade In, Fade Out, and Jenny, and Gone, and maybe do a few others and put them into an album after this next album.
Thank you for answering that, Karina. There's your answer. So yes, they're hoping on that, but they're going to get this next one out of the way first. It's heavy.
And this came out, Gone came out in this October, right? Just recently, a couple of days ago, right?
Yeah. So it was out years ago, but it was one of those songs that, you know, when you like release a single and it's not on an album, sometimes it kind of just gets lost into the netherworld of the internet. So we remastered it and came back out with it, because we were doing we did this etched vinyl from the Few Not Fleeting, which it was our 10-year anniversary of that album not too long ago. So we were kind of just doing a bunch of throwback stuff to that album, and this was one of them.
Okay, yeah, because I was wondering what the I think it said 2010 on the release somewhere. When I found the Gone thing, it said acoustic 2010. So you revisited it around the idea of this re-release, because you are re-releasing, or has it came out, or is it October 30th that A Few Not Fleeting comes out on the vinyl, the actual release?
Yeah, we did like a remastering, and then we did a special kind of etched vinyl that we did a few tracks on. It looks really cool. I'd never seen one of these before, but they actually, it's not, you know, paint or a print. They literally carve out the vinyl. So it's an etching on it. So when you hold it in the light, it reflects in really cool ways based on how the light's hitting it. So we did that special release along with some other things in that theme, kind of around Halloween. We have a song called Burn the Witch, or Salem, off that album. Gotcha. And that's a big fan favorite live. So we're like, Halloween's coming up, let's do some Halloween-y stuff. So we did that song and Fell in Love with a Ghost, you know, kind of more Halloween themed kind of, you know, qualities, and released a bundle with that etched vinyl, which also our drummer Ben just completed his tasty hot sauce, which he's worked on for quite some time now. Yeah, he finally got it bottled, approved, everything. So hopefully you'll be seeing that in stores one day. It's really good. We've been putting on all of our food. I'm not just saying that because
I'm covering up my face here, but are we looking at the etch in the vinyl?
That's the etch vinyl.
Mm-hmm. Man, it is so cool. I didn't even know that was a thing. I had no idea that you could do that with vinyl,
it does a little more justice. If you go to our Instagram or our Facebook, we posted a video with the light hitting it. It does a little more justice than just like a photo, but people can check that out.
Yeah, that's cool.
It looks like the record that was used in the in Zombies Lords of Salem to summon the witches whenever Sherry Moon would put it on. It had that etching, so that's pretty cool.
I didn't even think about that.
Circling back to that hot sauce and what you guys did with that, or what Ben did with that, there's some like some videos I think I saw on the community page where the feed is, where you could see like the actual like creation, or the rabbit hole, I think is what you guys are calling it, where you guys get into the depths of your actual modes of creation. How many times did you have to burn your butthole until you guys had, he's like, all right, it's just spicy enough, or was it right off the bat? Boom, got it.
before I answer that question, I'm gonna start calling my butthole my witch because
You
now that
should.
you said that.
Excuse me, guys. Got to go take care of my witch.
My witch is burning, bro. Yeah, burned it quite a few times. He had a few renditions of the sauce. One that was a little spicier, one that was a little less, one that had a little more vinegar in it. So we got to try a few different renditions, and he got it dialed in. I love it. It's not too hot though. It's got that spice, but it's not one that is just for show, where you're just doing it to see how hot you can get, but you'd never do it again because it tastes horrible and it just hurts. We did that the other night though. We did the hottest chip challenge. Have you ever done that?
Oh, with the one chip?
The one chip. It comes in a box. You can order it online. We all ate one chip. Of course, Ben ate the giant one because he's the master of all things hot. Yeah, show off. Dude, we were dying. That shit's hot.
How many bites did you get into before you had to like just call it?
I just went all at once. But
all
I had
at once?
Small one. Yeah, I got it over with. It was bad though. It was bad.
So if I could come back to the record, the 10 years later, the remastered revisiting, you guys have some events coming up. One of them being a live stream of you. Are you performing the record in its entirety, or is it a performance live stream? I just saw that October 21st. There was a live stream.
Yeah. No, I think we were just gonna be checking in with fans, and we were gonna be doing a kind of like a listen through. So
gotcha.
Almost like some fun commentary, like fun facts, things you didn't know that happened during the recording of it, or stories behind the songs, things like that. It's kind of a deeper look into that album.
Okay. Can I spoil a little? Have you spoil a little bit of that and tease some of that, specifically with the song "Burn the Witch," and maybe how what the live show ended up looking like today when you guys played that song. I remember being on the road with you and thinking, what the fuck song is this? Because we had the record and we listened to it all the time, but we never heard that song. And I don't think it was until maybe Mark had said, "Oh, that's an old song, man." So you have such an incredible stage show planned out for that one moment, and we had never heard this song until we went and go find the old release. But until then, I would have to assume you built it up to be a special piece of your set, an integral piece of your set that you just couldn't get rid of. As you move forward. So how did the introduction of that moment that we know from you guys happen? Like, was it just let's try some shit or what?
Well, I think part of it was our manager Will at the time. He's a very good mirror when it comes to live performances and what people are reacting to. And at the time, we would always like cut that song, and he's like, no, put that song back in the set. He's like, that's the one people are screaming, "Burn the Witch," on the riff. And so much so that we didn't even have it in the title originally. It was just Salem. There was no "Burn the Witch." So eventually we're like, we got to put it in parentheses or something, because people are going to be typing "Burn the Witch" and not find the song, which is always a funny argument we always have when naming songs. But so we started putting it in the set more, and then we always did some kind of a drumming thing, similar to y'all when we toured with Wilson, with you guys in Europe. I remember y'all did this big drum thing too, and you came out with the bass drum and all that. That was so fun. And we've always liked when bands do that. And I've always, started out on drums, and I was in drumline in high school. So we always did big ensemble things. So I was always putting drumsticks in Daniel and Mark's hands and trying to get them to play some rhythms. And then when I started singing, we had another drummer, and I was like, well, now we can definitely do like an ensemble. And we just kind of started building it. And for whatever reason, it just seemed to fit in that song that we would do a big drum ensemble thing.
Wow. So did you guys just keep trying to one up each other until it got to the point where like, okay, then you do this, or was it just completely spastic and it wasn't planned out at first? Like, you show up to practice and like next the other guy's got a floor drum and it's bigger than the other guy's floor drum. So you just kind of like get to the spot of where you can work everybody's pieces in. And then Daniel shows up with like a soldering iron. He's like, I'm going to make my own version of this.
Dude, yeah, Dan, actually we've had many amalgamations of this piece, and it was in different songs at one time. And Daniel at one time, when you mentioned him, he did come with a PVC pipe one time. And this is the funniest thing, because this was back when we were playing smaller shows, so the audience is right there, there's no barricade, they're just like crotch level, face to crotch, you know what I'm talking about with those tiny stages. And
my favorite / least favorite.
right. You're like, this is weird. And you'd come with this big PVC pipe and you would hit this trash can. And I was like, we need to put like a symbol on it or something. So I think he fastened like a symbol to the top of it. And almost, every other night, someone was getting really close to losing an eye or injured because he would smash this thing and there's people right there, and like sharp shards of PVC would just explode off the thing, like straight into eyeballs and stuff. So we had to stop using the PVC, and they started using like a metal pipe or something. Then we started breaking the trash can too much. And
Speaking of drums, Justin, one of our rockers, has a question for you. I mean, you guys, we're still a ways away from the touring industry and live performance, but are you going to stick with or replace the Scorpion?
I think we're going to stick with and develop on it for its own thing, but we're building a whole nother monster right now. Daniel's been working on this for the last year and a half. So we have a whole different thing. But the Scorpion will still be there. I think we're going to just elaborate on it a bit.
What was the genesis of that? Did you just think of something, or was there a movie, or did you see something and go, well, maybe it's Kiss levitation drum thing? Where did that all come
from? Daniel actually had the idea of elevating me on the stage with something mechanical. And so he started connecting that idea to the drums that I had up front. Because when I left the drum set and started singing, I was like, I got to take a few drums with me. So I took a kick drum and a snare. And Dan was like, originally I was telling Dan, I was like, I want to stand on these drums. Do you think you could weld something to make them strong enough? Because they were wobbly and I was going to hurt myself. So he welded what we call Drumtron, aka Vlad the Impaler, because it impaled many people throughout the years with the rusty edges.
Those Romanians.
And so he built that, and then he had this idea to take that with like a catapult device and elevate me on stage to where I was playing drums like this, and then I got elevated and I'd be playing kind of drums like this, sideways. And from there, I came to the jam room one day. So that was that idea, right? Separate idea. And then I came to the jam room with a different idea where I had this little controller. It almost looked like a video game controller. And it was a wireless MIDI device. So I could control the bass guitar and the guitar while they were playing like a video game. And so I was playing all these effects, almost like manipulating their pedals in real time. And I was like, this would be really cool. It's like I'm DJing a live band. And so Dan was like, it sounds awesome, but you look super dumb. He's like, he's like, you're just sitting there like doing this. He's like, nobody wants to see that like in a live show. And so thankfully Dan brought his, perspective to the table. And he's like, why don't we build something that you are using your body against? You have to push it. You have to pull it, you have to hit it. It's more physical, and violent, not so like moving your thumbs. Cause that was always my critique of, a lot of electronic music in the live atmosphere. It's just, it's all, so much of it's on tracks and it's like, wow, you press the button. Who gives a fuck, So I wanted something exciting, and Dan brought it to life. And so it's just idea, and then connecting the ideas.
Okay.
Yeah. You guys are like quintessentially the best beacon that I can think of for collaboration when it comes to bringing your strong suits to find a solution for a problem, or maybe even building your own problem and then finding the solution for that own problem.
We do that more often than not. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but teamwork, dude. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I would walk out of the venue and I would see Daniel like welding something, and I walk onto the bus and there's you editing your music video, and then I come into the venue and there's Mark going through all of the channels of his guitar line for the MIDI changes and all those cool pieces of tech that like it would take an army, you know, to do, but you guys just believe in each other's strong suits. And I saw every single day. I watched each one of your strong suits come out, and it's very rare that you find a collaborative group of people like that. There's always like one guy who's doing everything, or two guys that are doing everything, and everybody else is just like, I don't know, man, I just play bass or whatever it is. Like, that's not acceptable nowadays. It's just not acceptable, right. You know?
Yeah, man, it's definitely
you guys
rare and tough to find that.
Yeah.
You guys are in the studio now, and you guys are following up the 20 stories we tell ourselves. Can you tell some people about what's going on? Is this kind of just a continuation of that? And let me add in, that was the Grammy-nominated 2017 album. So congratulations on that. 3 years removed. So that's always big. If nothing else, you did that. So is this just a continuation of what you?
I thought it was my computer. So if I could pick up what Justin was saying.
Sorry, yeah, I lost half that.
Is it mine? Is it my computer?
Yeah. You froze up there for a second.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go.
Well, New Orleans, man, you're lucky if you get internet here at all.
The best. So are you guys still working in San Antonio then? Is it you guys together in the studio with Will on this new record? The process is that you've taken between the self-titled and the stories we tell ourselves, and now this record, is it all been kind of like the same, similar, like we get together, we huddle down, Will is helping to produce and engineer, your manager, and you guys are all on the board together, like a collaborative record?
It's a little different this time around, and I think what I could hear Justin saying and what you said, I think I can answer both questions because they're kind of generally the same. This process is different than the last few because this is the first time we've lived in different cities. I live in Louisiana now, and our drummer Ben, he lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and so it's been. At first, it was like scary because we didn't know how it was going to affect our process and how many problems that was going to cause. But for me, it was honestly very exciting because I just wanted to see how it was going to kind of screw with our process and give us new challenges, like new ways of writing and collaborating. Because when you're abroad, you work on ideas a lot more in isolation and then, share them. So a lot of it has been coming together in San Antonio, working in a jam room, splitting apart, working for a few weeks. I'll work in my studio. I'll lay down different versions of the idea we worked on and share it with the guys from my little home studio. And then Ben will share some drums or new parts. Mark will record a bunch of guitars and send them to me, and then get Dan to record with Ben. It's just like this constant like whirlpool of sending each other things and listening. And when we went into this album, I was like, where technology has gotten, we can do this now. Like, we really can make an album mobily. We still have to be together for a few weeks here and there, but let's just see how it goes. And so far, it's been really interesting, and it has affected the process. You just get different results when you change that process. So now we usually keep Will out of the process for a little while, just so that he stays objective, because when you hear these songs in 50 different forms, you start losing a sense of, you get vertigo. You lose a sense of up and down and what's good and what's not. But you've really kind of squeezed out a bunch of creativity. And then we bring Will in, and he's like that first wall that like bounces off a lot of stuff, cuts things, says that's awesome, that's not. And then from there, we just start building, and we'll go back into the studio to do drums. We just got kind of the end of our demoing stage, and we'll be doing drums in like 2 weeks in El Paso at Sonic Ranch.
Yes, dude.
It's gonna be badass out in the desert.
Butthole Surfers, man. Oh man.
If you got any peyote, let me know.
I'm sending it. I got you.
At the end of the process.
I'll hook you up. I'll send you. I'll get you a shaman down there. That's so
you
guys are doing the
record. So why not?
That's a beautiful studio, man. Have you been there before?
No, but I've heard about it.
Yeah, my friend here in Detroit, Jessica Hernandez, she did her record down there. I can't remember if it's Gilby that who's the owns it. One of the dudes from the Butthole Surfers, I believe, is the
Gibby Haynes.
Who owns. Yeah, Gibby. Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh,
I think.
Okay.
Pretty cool. That's a cool place to do. Is that the first time you're going to be doing this record in El Paso then, right? Because you guys have your own studio or something, right?
Yeah, so we just do drums in a big studio, and we'll all set up and play live together. And a lot of that stuff will be keeper, and we'll keep for the album. But then we'll split up and do individual stuff and kind of replace a bunch of the parts with the individual things. So we just like to get the best of both. Some bands are real purists, and they just go in and play something live, like a Red Hot Chili Peppers kind of a vibe. And then some bands are super, piece by piece by piece. Everything's in isolation, kind of like, metal bands, a lot of gent metal bands nowadays. So we like to try to find little gems in both processes and put them together.
The hybrid of it really works for you guys. And I think it works for a lot of bands when they adapt the idea of the old meeting the new and finding a middle ground where you can utilize the technology as you have, but also be together in some way, shape, or form.
There's huge. An energy you can't replace, I think, when you're in isolation.
Totally.
Hey, speaking of old, Jennifer wants to know, and we're going to go way back here, Jonny, is like, who are some of the artists as you were younger that influenced you to make you want to go into a career in music?
So funny enough, I don't know if anybody will know these artists, but when I was a kid, my dad took me to a Christian rock show. I guess because he thought it would be, PG and safe to take me to and get beer spilled on me or whatever. But it was a band called Petra and a band called Grandma Train, which was like this kind of grunge band out of Seattle, and Johnny Q Public. And I'll never forget just watching the drummer. And I remember looking up to my dad. I was like 7, and I was like, I want to do that. And I just got chills. Like, even as a kid, I remember getting chills, which I had never like felt that feeling before. It was just like overwhelming because when you're a kid, you don't have that filter yet, and it's like, scary movies are scarier and loud noises are louder. Just everything's more vibrant, and it just hit me like on some deep spiritual level at 7 years old, and that was it.
Petra, by the way, was a massive band back in the day. They were big. So yeah, that's
like Newsboys big.
Newsboys, wow. That's all them too as a kid.
You're right.
Yeah, hell yeah, me too.
Wow.
Newsboys. Oh, I'm thinking of Newsies. I'm sorry, the movie, crazy.
Also, great movie.
But it's always funny. Johnny's talking to people. It's like, Chad was at Mark Tremonti who said that Grease was basically his intro into this, and like Burton from Fear Factor, his first show was Air Supply. Yeah, and that's what affected him. He said you're kind of going, you guys are seeing like Black Sabbath or anything? No, farther in, other end of the scale. So, those are always great. Wow. So, Jennifer, there you go. It was Petra and was it Johnny P? Was it the Johnny Public? Was that the one that was blowing you away? Was that the one blowing you away?
Train. Grandma Train was the one that I became one of my favorite bands for a while.
Okay.
They were a little more grungy.
Okay.
But yeah, Johnny Q Public was a favorite too.
Okay.
That's so interesting. I used to listen to that stuff. Not many people maybe even know this part about me. I started as a vocal. My vocal debut was in a Christian metalcore band. So my bands used to play with like Zayo and Underoath back in the day, and Norma Jean before it was Norma Jean, and when it was Ludacris and things like that. Those dudes I played with. Travail, all the metalcore stuff we saw. Yeah, I lived in Texas with those guys.
You grew up on all the stuff I did, because it was like I wanted to listen to heavy stuff, but my parents were pretty I was their firstborn kid, and they kind of just were overly filtering everything, right? And so I was like, well, if it's Christian, you can listen to it. So I got the nastiest
Yeah.
You know,
Nothing like
sounding
throwing
thing I
on
could
living
find.
living sacrifices reborn
Living
records. See, mom and dad,
Sacrifice,
we're all good.
Embodiment, all that stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like it
Oh
was the
yeah,
way to get around it.
yeah. Yeah.
It's funny because like those guys in those bands nowadays, you know, not to get anybody like too bummed about it, but you know, they've all shifted their mindset, and I think it was their answer too, as a child being put through through whatever version of religion just by nature of who your parents were, but they wanted to play in a metal band. So if they screamed about Jesus, right, they could do the things that they wanted to do, and then at some point in time pull the veil up and be like, hey, check it out, you know, Satan rules or whatever it is.
right?
Yeah, eat shit, Dad. You know, then move on. The idea of where you guys stem from too, like just being from the South, you're originally all from San Antonio. Well, the three of you that are still from the original inception, besides Ben, are all originally from San Antonio, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that area of the U.S. in general is really hard, right, to cut your teeth into when you're coming up to be in a band. Even if you're getting attention, like how do you get anybody even in Austin or Houston or Dallas to pay attention? Not Houston, but Dallas or Fort Worth to pay attention to you down in San Antonio.
Yeah, it's a weird spot. There, I'm sure, like anywhere, there's pros and cons. I think the pro was that when we pulled out a map and we bought a 1970s like shaggin' wagon RV, we were just like, Texas is like the size of a country. Why don't we just tour Texas? Because it was digestible. We could do it. There were so many towns in Texas. We were like, okay, this is accomplishable. But outside of that advantage, I think San Antonio is very difficult because it's a very fragmented scene. There's not like one spot. There's just kind of like all these little pockets, and there's some really interesting artists, but they don't usually make it out of San Antonio, and there's not a whole lot of momentum. It's really Tejano music and death metal. And then Austin is right down the road, but it's just overly saturated. I mean, there's tons of music and it's great as a listener, but if, like you said, you're cutting your teeth and you're trying to make a name for yourself, it was kind of, you get lost in a sea of other bands trying to do the same things. So,
yeah,
you know,
promoters are like, if you buy these 20 tickets.
Yeah, San Antonio's an interesting kind of place. I mean, it used to be kind of the metal capital of the world. And, you know, bands like Priest and Maiden and Slayer kind of made their name in that city, you know, domestically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a club called the White Rabbit that was well known for a while. It's still there, but it's called the Paper Tiger now. It's
really?
still called that. They cleaned it up. You know, I kind of miss the old grungy one where you were always a little nervous if you're going to get mugged. It was just kind of had that quality to it, which one of my buddies actually did, unfortunately. So
hell yeah, he did.
Yeah,
I guess I did.
But they cleaned it up. It's got a different vibe now, but it's much nicer. But I think something happened where, like you're saying, back in the 90s or something, there was a lot of rock and metal, and that culture was there. But I don't know if it was the radio station or what, but they just kind of decided to close the gates to anything in the future, and they just stopped playing new music. I mean, I remember when we came out with our first single, we were very fortunate and thankful that we got a #1 out the gate, and everyone in the rock world was playing that song except our hometown. Our hometown rock radio station would not play us. And so, no joke, I a few years down the road, basically we revisited San Antonio, and I basically just did a big fuck you to Kiss Radio from the stage. I was like, dude, we've been here for so long. We try, and sure enough, a few months later or a year later, they finally started playing us. I don't know what happened, but some corporate stuff, I'm sure. There's some nice people who work there, I'm sure.
Well, you know what happened is when Joe Anthony died back in the 90s, that's when DJs and stuff like that, that's the whole scene for radio changed when Joe Anthony passed away, because he was like the big kind of, exploring new music and finding new acts. So, yeah.
So what was your first like real legit Nothingmore tour? Like, and when I mean that, I mean we all think of our first legit band tour when we're able to leave our hometown and there's 2 people who show up, right? But like when you got your first like real opening slot offer and you're like, we're fucking doing it. I told you, Dad. Hail Satan type sort of shit, you know, or whatever it is.
I honestly think the first real one was with Mike Portnoy, you know, the drummer from Dream Theater.
Yeah.
He was in a band called Adrenaline Mob, we played with them, and I think we started somewhere in New Jersey or something. So we had to drive all the way up there and kick it off, and that was unreal. That was our first time to do like a national level thing, and there's, you know, hundreds of people every night, and so, yeah, that was cool. I just remember the band. I think the guitar player, Orlando, I just remember him snapping at me the very first day. I think I was tuning a drum or something. He's like, shut the fuck up. And it's like very first day on like with this pro band. And I'm just like this young kid. And I was like, am I not supposed to do this? Didn't know the rules, you know, like, you know,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
you're lucky sound checking, you're not.
Yeah. You're lucky that was like that happened to you so early on, because some people are too nice, right? You know, like you'll have an opening band on your tour and you'll be like, you know, just like be cool about it. But like at some point they're going to get further along the lines, and that's going to become the regular, just being an annoying asshole all of the time, and then they're going to get kicked off a tour. But you got the first like jolt of like, oh shit, that's not what I do I? That's awesome, man. Yeah. So was it just sidebar for my own curiosity? Was it like nerve-wracking as shit being a drummer? You know, having all of these. I would assume at this period of time you probably also had some of the stage show with all of the external drum pieces there, or no?
Yeah, but it was a much smaller setup, and we could barely fit it on stage. It was
right.
I could barely move. I had my drums up front, and I literally just had one area to stand, so it was pretty humbling. They didn't give us a whole lot of room.
Then you have to do it all in front of Mike Portnoy, so there you go. It's like shit.
Portnoy had so many drums. We called it Drum Village. It was just like, it took up half the stage. And you know, before then I was like, dude, this guy was my idol. I mean, I was a drummer for years before I ever sang, and he was the dude. I got his DVDs. I learned all of his fills, everything. And I was like, I'm going on tour with him. What the hell? And then we got on tour, and I was like, his fucking drum set's way too big. All right.
We get it.
Cut it down, Portnoy. I gotta move around a bit.
Yeah, you're annoyed by your heroes' like inability to understand space.
Yeah, you need all the rototoms.
Yeah. Yes, I do. Okay. Well, ours was Guar, like the first like legit. We had done some tours, but they were like 4 or 5 days. But like the first like legit 30-day run was with Guar, 0 days off, 30 days in a row. Not 1 inch of stage, maybe more than this for me to stand on, you know, because the people eater that Guar would carry on it, and the second band, we were the first of 3, and every night it used to be like a pure heart attack for 2 reasons. 1, I don't want to touch their shit and break it while I'm up there on stage, so every inch that you would move in that tiny little space, you're like, just be careful, pay attention to where you're at. And then 2, don't fall off the stage, because you're definitely going to slip on one of those, like, because everything was covered in blood from the night before, so every step you like, I would kneel down, you know, to pick up my mic cable, and I'd come up, and if I was wearing anything else other than black, it was just all red everywhere.
Red, so and no white shirts for that tour, huh?
Nope. Yeah, man. So then moving forward, all these years, all the touring, you guys are one of the I think one of the hardest working bands that I can think of in modern rock. When we went on the road with you that very first time, you had just gotten off of like 200 straight days of shows, traveling internationally, flying back and forth, and then getting in a bus and doing it all over again. And here you are in a situation where not only are you making a record, but also you can't tour as it is. Does that feel like where's your psyche, man? Like, how do you guys feel?
Feels
personally?
Amazing.
Sick. I was hoping you were going to say that.
Well, with as much as we've been on the road, you know, it was nice to have a break. We were very, very fortunate that we were already going into the studio to work on an album, thank God. I mean, if we had a whole European tour and US tour book and had to cancel it, that would have been awful.
Daniel would have been over there like turning you into robots because of his idle hands and your
yeah. But it's been a mental challenge, man. Honestly, you kind of get used to living a certain way, and when you're home, there's so many more distractions and so many more responsibilities. Like when you're on the road, you're kind of very focused, and so many of the jobs are delegated so that you can just do your job and focus on music after the show or whatever. When I'm home, it's like, this is the first time I've ever lived in a house. Up until then, it's always been apartments. And so it's like just the little things of like normal life, everyday life of like, yeah, shit breaks all the time. And I got to fix things or, worry about this or that, or what's planned here, or how we get this taken care of. So there's that whole other element of life that's kind of kicked in that I never really had before. So it's just a growing up process, but there's many, many nights where I'm like, I need to be on the road right now. I need to get out of here. This like, you start going stir crazy. So I've definitely gotten there as well.
Yeah, man. I can't imagine having like if you were, like you said, if you were in a situation where you had plans, just going as hard as you had been and then having to stop. And then what do you do with those idle hands and those idle thoughts and all the things you've been working on when you guys do go underneath the covers, far deeper than I think most people are even aware of when you guys are putting together what it's going to look like in your touring cycle,
What's kind of interesting too with our crew, a lot of the guys that do all the jobs that help us do what we do, I've spoken to a few of them, and they, a lot of times get depressed because they're home for too long and it's just not a part of their routine and how, whatnot. And so when COVID hit, I feel like the rest of the world got to experience that a bit, which was that coming off tour kind of drop feeling, where people start going, certain things come more to the surface when you're just stuck at home, depressions, anxieties, chemical abuse. So that's been interesting too. It's been a mental challenge, but I don't know. I guess for us as musicians, we always go through that quarantining, going into the studio and go crazy already. So it's just kind of part of the process. But I think the rest of the world's kind of gotten to experience it in some weird way.
Well, I think it's hard to go from people who are used to movement. It's super hard, even when you're, I'm on the bus for 8 hours. So this next haul, this next leg, I mean, you still realize you're moving down and you're going to have, this at 8 o'clock in the morning, I got to start loading in. So yeah, have that. We had one more question before we start talking to you about ShipRocked, Jonny. It's from Meredith. She wants to know, during the pandemic, when the pandemic kind of ceases, how are you guys going to go about getting back on the road differently? You're going to have a different protocol to what you do, or is it just kind of a wait and see thing with you guys?
Like a different protocol, is that what you said?
Like, how are you going to basically, when you get on the road, is there going to be basically now, maybe a lot of bands should talk about this, like what's going to be the process when we get back on the road? Do we have to address how we do things backstage differently, how we set up differently? Do we?
Oh,
yeah.
That's a good question. Because I think there's quite a few differing opinions within our own band. Mm-hmm. I mean, in our band, we have the full spectrum of, not caring a whole lot to wearing taking every precaution you can.
Sure.
I lean a little bit on the side of the spectrum of being a little more loosey-goosey. Obviously if I'm in situations where it's a matter of respecting others, I will, and I'll wear a mask and things like that. But I've been hanging out and having a good time, when I can, where I can. I got COVID during this whole thing. Knocked it out. I kind of wanted to get it personally. That's just kind of how I am. I'm like, I just want to knock it out, get it over with, get my body used to it. So that's just me. That's my perspective. Within the band, though, we have all the different gradients. And so it's going to be, probably some kind of an argument about how we
toilet seats
handle it, what we do, what are the new protocols. Whatever we do, I am probably okay with, as long as it's temporary. I do not. When people say the new normal, I'm like, fuck that, dude. I'm not into this new normal. Like, I'm totally down for being respectful and doing what we can. But I got like 1, maybe 2 quarantines in me. After that, it needs to be like a flesh-eating disease or something where you spontaneously combust. And those are the standards. If not, I'm not in again. I'm out. Sorry.
The idea, I can just see you like, just take off the shirt and just walk in there. Like, just do it already, brother.
Yeah. If you want to be safe, just don't come to the show.
Far out, man. That's awesome. Well, anyway, man. Dude, Chad, you want to ask John about his ShipRocked experiences? Those guys have had several, so I'd love to hear his take on it.
Yeah, I always ask this question, man, and if you don't mind, I'd like to ask it to you. When you guys came onto the ship for the first time, have you been on a cruise ship or any way, shape, or form before ShipRocked?
I don't know about the other guys. I know a few of them have, but I've been on a few cruises because our family took some cruises when we were kids. And I actually was sick the whole time for one of them. I'll never forget that cruise. That was awesome.
That's like ShipRocked for me every time. So
like
were they? So they were vacation cruises and not like music cruises or anything.
Yeah. It was just like a family getaway kind of thing.
So then, when you like pull up and you're walking onto the cruise, I'm thinking of the moments. The moment when you're like, you got your bags and you're walking into the atrium, you know, and you're seeing it all kind of like real time unfold. You're seeing the people, the booze is already flowing. What were your thoughts? Like, oh shit, what did we get ourselves into? Or like you just said, I'm the type of dude that just says, bring it on, motherfucker. Or like, how did you take it all in?
I had a lot of mixed feelings and thoughts, honestly, because I wanted so badly to just party my ass off every minute that I had to remember I had to still perform a show. So that was a challenge in my internal dialogue, especially just not even just drinking, but just talking to people. I had to regulate it because a lot of people don't realize this, but the number one way you lose your voice, your singing voice, is by talking too much. It's not actually from singing. And so I had to really like temper that, which kind of made me have to really think about where am I going, when, you know, how long am I going to be there? Because you end up talking to fans, which is an awesome part of the experience. And I love that. Because, you know, there's a lot of surprises that come along with that. I was in the elevator once and this lady was in there and I just glanced down at her fingernails and I'm like, what kind of fingernails are those? And sure enough, my face is on her fingernails. And I was like, what the hell?
I'm getting off of this floor.
But also like, how did you do that? So just like really cool, you know, fan moments and interactions like that, surprises. But man, it's a mix. But I loved it. I had a great time. I just almost want to perform early so I can just not have to worry about singing. You know, the rest.
Yeah, it's like you get the schedule and you're like, shit, sick. First day, last day? Oh, we're right.
Yeah.
Say hello to my little friend, and that little friend is your witch who's going to be in the bathroom every single night. With the fans, though, I mean, that's the what you just said, that moment that you had in the elevator with that lady, in the surprising like gesture that she had essentially set up to hopefully run into you. You know, the idea, me as a fan, when I'm doing shit like that, I'm like, oh God, I hope I see him, you know, because otherwise I'm gonna look like a fucking asshole to all my friends, you know, because the whole moment is to share a moment with the person that's given you so many of them, right? And as a fan,
right.
This is like the person that I've gone to for life advice, for hard times and good times. These are the people who have been the soundtrack to literally every living moment that I can think of in some way, shape, or form. And here I am in such close proximity that not only am I in the same vessel sailing to a destination of straight debauchery, but also now I'm in the fucking elevator with him. And I got his face on my fingernail. And all I want that person to know at that very moment is, I fucking love you. Thank you. You know? And that's one thing that the ShipRockers, as you know, after you get on that ship and go and play after that ship, they'll continue to give to you, to get to the feeling that allows the energy that's inside of you to come out in a visceral way to make the music that we all love. You know, it's a really crazy thing.
That's what's special about it. And that's why it's so unique, and that's why we'll be a part of the ShipRocked legacy from here on out.
Sick. I was hoping that you wouldn't be like that. I asked you that question. Like, we were like, sick. Can't wait that this is done. When you first walked onto the ship.
Well, see you later.
Well, big gulps, eh? See you later.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Do you have any favorite memories from? I remember my favorite Jonny memory from one of the cruises. You and your lady and I don't think you realized I was next to you, and there was this like corner bar right in the main deck stage, and you guys were like going hard, and people just like were right around you, and there's so many drinks in your hand. I think you had like 3 drinks in one hand at one point. And I'm talking to your girl, and we're just chatting about stuff or whatever, like the ship and things. This is crazy. It's so awesome. And then you turn around, and your eyes look me directly in the eyes, and you're like, I love you. And like one of the drinks fell out of your hand, and somebody else, like the moment that one drink fell out of your hand, you grabbed and like somebody else had another one to give you in your hand. I'm like, damn, this dude's fucking set. I'm gonna give him a hug, take one of his drinks. He's gonna have another one. It's coming right around the corner, and I'm gonna get out of here.
I remember that, but I thought it was a dream.
Well, maybe it was.
My thought was watching you guys on the deck stage, and you're up on the Scorpion, and I'm up above and back, and I'm thinking, man, you know what? That in a still theater is one thing, but we're on a moving fucking boat. I'm just thinking, please no rough waters, please no rough waters. So yeah, that was a little frightening watching. I'm going, this is cool as shit, but goddamn, that guy's brave. So
I'll never forget that feeling, being up on the Scorpion tail, 20 feet up on the stage, and it was just like feeling that whoa.
Well, that's the thing too. Like I'm up on this thing in front of 3,000 people in the middle of the goddamn ocean. What life am I living in? This is amazing. It's so amazing.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, the one thing that I really wanted to ask post the question that I did ask is, do you remember the day that followed you exiting the ship? Do you guys have to play a show the next day, or it's that come down feeling where everything feels like it's still swaying? Did you guys have to play a show?
Yeah. No, we didn't. But that was the weird thing. I think the alcohol offset that feeling for me for some reason, because when I was younger, our family went on a bunch of cruises, like I said, and every time I had the sea legs where you feel like everything's still moving. But as an adult, I went on ShipRocked and drank my ass off, and that feeling was gone. And it felt like normal when I got off. So I guess there's something to it.
You figured it out. You're immune.
Drink.
I guess. Yeah.
Fucking drink.
So.
Yeah, man. Those are always my 2 most I'm curious moments to ask everybody, because I remember them very vividly, like super nervous and then super sick, but like having the best time being both super nervous and super sick with the nerves or whatever, man.
Yeah.
The ship is a crazy thing, and the fans on there are really, really, really special people. Speaking of which, Justin, do we have any more fan questions?
I got one, and I'd like to hear this question. I mean, it's probably one it's asked every time, but let's go ahead and ask it. This is Debbie. She wants to know, what's your favorite song to perform live? Personally, it doesn't have to be a fan favorite. It can be just anything.
Yeah, I think it changes. But I think probably in the last year or two, it's probably been This Is the Time. Probably.
It's a heart starter, man.
It bounces. It's just got it's heavy, and everyone sings, and it feels good. And Fade In, Fade Out. I'd say that one, Fade In, Fade Out.
Actually, that song was brought up a couple of times in the comments, but one of the ShipRockers answered it. So you've got some fans that know their stuff. They want to know, who is that song written for? And I guess it was written for someone within the band or the family.
Yeah, when it was originally written, Mark had the idea, and Mark's our guitar player. He had spent some time with his father, and he's the one in the band who has a son. Mm-hmm. So he kind of saw the whole multi-generational, picture, and saw how that feeling came into a song. So we started working on it together, and then as we work on these songs, we all personalize them. Even when I'm working on the lyrics, I try to personalize them to me and my father, but the original idea did come from Mark.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What a great topic too, and the way to kind of make it happen, and you can visualize that. So that's super cool. So yeah, Debbie. Oh, actually, that wasn't Debbie's, but yeah, Debbie, that was your question. Thank you for asking that. Chad, we've had Jonny for hour 10. That's 70 minutes.
It looks as though we have.
So
he's sweaty. He's ready to get back to work.
My bladder is full. I'm ready to.
He's ready to rock and roll. You have any last things, Chad?
No, man. I just wanted to say thanks for being on here. I know that, if anybody wants to go and check out the guys' website, their community is amazing. There's so many awesome things going on with these dudes, and they're constantly capturing it and giving you a little sneak peek. I suggest you become a member ASAP. Their merch is always dope. I have tons of it in those drawers right behind me that I am constantly wearing. I should have worn one. I feel like a goof. And also, don't forget about their record that's coming up, the 10-year the 10-year remastered version of A Few Not Fleeting and the song Gone Out. And that'd be about it for me. Did I do okay?
Okay, yeah, it was great. The State Farm commercial was good.
Yeah, get some insurance. They're selling it now.
Hey, I'm on State Farm, so let's give them a shout out as well. Why
there you
not?
go. Like the heck. Listen, Jonny, once again, thank you, man. If you guys are watching, if you want to buy some music or merch to the band, please do. He was Chad. Just ran those things, right?
Yeah, check it out.
All right,
boom.
Very good. Other than that, guys, this has been our hour of power with Jonny from Nothingmore. Listen, man, good luck and success as you guys head into the studio here and knock out this next album. And obviously, 2021, you guys are going to be on our radar, and hopefully we can see some great things happen for you and others. Real quick,
hear the album, man.
Yeah, that's gonna be stoked, dude. And remember, that acoustic album is somewhere in your canon down the road.
It's got to be.
Hey guys, real quick before we sign off here, the latest eBay auction is now up, or will be up soon on eBay. Just go and look for. You can go to ShipRocked Charity in the search bar on eBay. Remember, guys, all proceeds are going to go to Unite the United and For the Nomads to help all these crews right now that aren't on the road. So we're going to try to look out for our brethren who are trying to keep these tours going and just kind of keep them afloat until we can get back to some sort of normal. So again, everyone who's played already or bid and won items, thank you so much. Your money means a lot. So anyway, that's about it. Remember, on Friday morning we'll announce the guest for Making Waves 15. So that'll be next Wednesday. Once again, thank you, Jonny. Thanks, Nothingmore. Thanks, Will, for making all this all happen as well. Chad?
Yeah.
Give my love to the guys, man, and make a kick-ass record like I know you will, and I can't wait to hear it, man. I can't wait to see what's next after the Scorpion, too.
Yeah. So there you go, ShipRockers. Thank you for joining us on Making Waves 14, and you guys have a terrific weekend, and we'll catch up next week. Thanks so much.